what's all happening here today? I've had a few days in some sunshine, which I feel much better for. So we had a bit of a storm while I was away, quite a storm, 100-mile-an-hour winds, which happened 2 years ago as well, as you remember. So we're going to see what's happened in here. It's not, at the moment, it's not looking too good. So hopefully there won't be as many trees down, but there was a lot of destruction. And looking at this now as I go in, it's going to be interesting to see whether we get in here or not. Okay, let's see how we go. Well, that's not too good. First of all, there's one down there. To be honest, I had expected a lot more damage than that. And just one here. So what's actually happened was, I think it was Storm Isha. I was actually in the Maldives at the time, but Storm Isha came in and wreaked a bit of havoc. 100-mile-an-hour winds took roofs off buildings and a lot of destruction in the country. So we'll see what happens. Just a little bit of destruction in here. Thing is, these are like dominoes. When one tree comes down, it brings so many others with it. It's still windy, we can't get rid of this wind, but at least it's a little bit less than it was. So I'm going to make my way in and see what we see. How interesting. Look at that. How interesting is that? That's a pointless stick. Pointless stick stuck in the ground. Call it a pointless stick. It's hardly pointless, but it's interesting, the shape. So let's go, folks. Oh, there's a lot of new stuff here. A lot of new stuff. Well, we're in for some colder weather coming. We've had days of rain. So we're now in for a colder spell. We have snow expected in 2 days. You never know with our weather whether the snow actually means it's going to be at ground level. New stick down. It's hard to gauge now what is going to be fallen with the wind, which was severe. Like I say, it was 100-mile-an-hour winds. I'm glad I wasn't here. So it's hard to say what is going to be natural tree fall. This doesn't look too bad to me. I was expecting to see a lot more trees down. Yeah. So what will be natural tree fall and what will be specifically laid out? And that's when you're looking for patterns, shapes that we see, the constellation shapes and the Futhark shapes. I'm not so sure about the Ogham, as it's pronounced, spelt Ogham. I know it's another form of language, but I'm really not sure about it, or its origins, shall we say. I'm not sure what kind of energy it uses. Right. This ground, can you hear how wet it is? I mean, look at this. It's just like a little stream running through here. Really, really soggy and wet. So I had a fabulous few days away in the North Atoll of Maldives. Beautiful. Really lovely. Tell you what is interesting. Look how clean that piece of wood is. The bark has been stripped. And it's clean. I don't actually remember this being here. But it may well have been. I'm not going to say it wasn't. This is new. It'll just have been snapped over. Oh, look at this. Let's just have a look around. One net visible, the other net on the ground. Let me go and have a look at that. I put two nets up, so there's one there, emptied out. One net here on the ground. That looks like a very big bough. Has it come down? No, look at that. It's come out of the ground. You can see where it's come from. That's not off the tree, that's come out of the ground. It's all bizarre. So the peanut butter jar has gone walkabouts. All the bags look empty. There's only 3 bags. So there should be at least 4. Sometimes they hide them up here. First of all, I just want to show you a couple of these bags that I found on the ground. So this is them. Look at that. Now the bag is actually closed on the top. See if I can show you that. See? It's still closed. But there's no means of getting anything out of there unless they have opened this and closed it at the top. That's one of them. And this, I think this is the second one. It's a second bag. Exactly the same. Still closed there at the top, see? Still closed. No cuts, no slashes, so the only way you get into it is by opening it. The only way you get into that is to open it. Weird, eh? So, never mind all of that. Today we have some hazelnuts. We also have some walnuts. We also have some almonds. Oh, what are these? Wasn't many of these left. These are pecans. Put those there. And then there's a bit of sweet we have these apricots. I should also say that we have these here, the apples, and some rose pears, some more rose pears. There's 4 rose pears in each bag and 3 apples. I thought that would be a little different. So I'll see if I can light some incense. I'm never sure where that should be. That's about right, isn't it? See if I can light this incense. So we'll stick these incense in around here. This tree stump is looking the worse for wear now. Would be one of these that hasn't got a good stalk on it. There we are. That's better. That's much better. There we go. That looks quite nice, I think. Oh, it's lovely and peaceful here today. I'm just looking at this here, walk through this little gap. Find not 1 but 2 pointless sticks in the ground. 1 here, and then that one. They may be absolutely nothing, but I don't believe that's the case. I'm often given downloads of information, and sometimes it comes in still images, and sometimes it comes in movies. If it's in a still image, it's like there, then it's gone. And I have to say, stop, slow down, I need to see it again. I missed it. It's probably had the most vital information, and I'm like, it's gone, I've missed it. Show me again. I never get them again. It just comes there once. But I'll often get like a word or a line of phrase, and the one I had was 6 planes of existence. Now I know nothing about that, and I thought, I have heard of planes of existence, but I am so ignorant, I have no idea what they're about. I know they're not aeroplanes. Sorry. So the ones that I looked up when I did a Google search, to be truthful, and it said there were gods, demigods, which were the baddies, they're the black hats, humans, animals, hungry ghosts, and hells. And these are all like sort of 6 paths to do with Buddhism, samsara Buddhism. So I thought it was interesting. It's not anything that I have ever studied or looked at, and I thought, well, I probably need to look this stuff up and find some information about it. But it's quite deep, and I thought, I can't deal with this. It's just too heavy going for me. Some carrots. They're from a few weeks back. Before Christmas was the last time I left carrots, I believe. Anyway, as a part of that, I guess that all of this channel, one of the reasons why we don't have as many subscribers as maybe we would, is it's quite esoteric. It really is very esoteric. It's because I'm quite interested in going off on the tangents regarding anything to do with energy, spirit connections, different dimensions, even off planet, because all of this stuff I think is connected. I'm not sure how it's connected, and I think the connections are dimensions. I think that's how it's all connected, that they use different dimensions. But you may have other ideas about that, so put them in the comments below and see what you think, because they are connected in one way or another. And we wouldn't get all these little examples of this, that and the other for us to look at different things, whether it's sounds, shapes, voices, noises, thoughts, all of this stuff. It wouldn't be given to us if it wasn't part of the puzzle, if you like, to use it, for want of a better word, part of the puzzle. So that's why this video is called Esoteric, because I think that's where we're at. I can't make it any easier because it's not easy. None of it is easy. Right, so while I was away, I love to dive and snorkel, but in these waters, in the Indian Ocean, the water is so cool and clear. There's no sort of passing boats in the areas of these islands to cause too much damage to the coral. So the fish and the marine life is amazing. So what has this got to do with our subject matter? What indeed? Do any of you keep tropical fish, marine fish? It's mesmerising, isn't it, when you look at them? I don't keep fish. I like to see them in their natural environment, but I totally understand why people would have a marine tank. Totally beautiful. So I am diving, snorkeling, and the sunlight coming through the water above me, catching the sides of these fish. And there was one fish in particular, it's completely white. You might have said it's the most boring in the bunch, because all of these fish are stunning. The colours and the iridescence, the changing of the colours. But this white fish caught my eye. And at certain times, the sunlight caught its back, and right down its back, it had a bright, luminous green line that went from the back of its head through its dorsal fin towards its tail. Then on its tail, again, pure white tail, as it flapped from side to side, it caught the sunlight again, and that white tail became ultraviolet in colour. It was stunning to look at. I'm going to show you, as I'm talking about this, some colours of the fish that I saw, some of the fish. What I would say is, I believe that this is a little clue in here regarding the colours, the reflectivity, the iridescence. And this iridescence in fish, and it's about selective optical transmissions, and it's the way that it reacts to light. And you've got multi-layers of the fish skin, and you just see like the outer layer. Then there may be a scaly layer, that you can see underneath, a crisscross pattern underneath that, and then there may be another layer underneath that. And it's the way that the light comes through this structure, this multi-layered structure, the way the shape of all of these scales and the dermis, the skin is. Within that, the light catches the chromatophores, and then it reflects. It then reflects and shows the iridescence, different colours. And I think that that may well be to protect it from predators. So chromatophores, that's the pigment-bearing cells of the skin. So it picks up the light, and then you have this crisscross pattern. And if you've looked at scales on any fish, they've got the most beautiful scaling patterns on them. So the light passes through the fish skin, it hits its tiny cell structures of the chromatophores and goes through into the muscle, and that turns the light into this beautiful spectrum, and it is a spectrum. It can look purple, it can look green. If you look at the parrotfish are the prime example. A Clunzinger wrasse, a moon wrasse, prime examples. Excuse me sniffing, it's a bit cold. So why are they reflective? Why do they reflect different colours of light back? And I think it's a sophisticated system. I think it's crystals that are underneath the skin layers that enhance the light and the way that light is reflected. And when the light is reflected, it helps the fish to hide. It's showing a different colour. And this comes back to the way forest people see us and the way we see them. So let's take a shark, for example. Now, if you are in the water in a black neoprene suit or a shorty, whatever, you look like a seal. You are very, very visible to a shark. But if you wear these, they're like blue camouflage diving suits, neoprene diving suits, the sharks can't see you. You blend in. We can see it, but the sharks don't see it because of the breakup of the pattern and the fact it's blue against blue. So they don't have such a clear, defined spectrum of colour. Now, fish have a lot of colours and a lot of spectrum in colours, massive spectrum. And I wonder if the connection here with the forest people is similar. Samples of their hair have been taken and sent off to labs, and oh no, we've got nothing like that, don't know what that looks like, no recognised species, sorry, and then your sample is lost in the post, it's never returned type of thing. But if we look at a hair sample, now if you were to pull a hair out your eyebrow or out of your head, if you've got any to spare, but if you pull one hair out and you look at it, you have to imagine it's a tube. So it looks like, and within that tube it's got fleshy bit and like a core. So imagine the core running through a pear, the strand that runs right through it, hair looks like that. Imagine a tree or a branch and you were to take a section of it, you see the pithy bit around the outside, that is called the cuticle. Then you'd see the flesh, mainly the wood with all the rings, that is called the cortex, and a cortex core. And then the next bit that runs right down the middle, like a string that runs right through the middle of it, is called the medulla. And that medulla is missing from forest people's hair. They don't have it. And I'm wondering if that medulla acts in the same way as the reflective, or the lack of it, acts in the same way as reflective scales and skin on fish. So if, take a really silly example, but if you were to turn that hair inside out and look at it under a microscope, I wonder if it would have the same type of reflective scales on it, however tiny they may be, that a fish has. And I thought, if that's the case, in the same way as the shark doesn't see you if you're wearing these blue camouflage, and predator fish don't see the beautiful coloured fish, the ones you wouldn't normally eat, as it were, in the ocean. Do you think that might be how, when people look at forest people and they get a glimpse of them and then they say, they just disappeared, they walked into a tree, they just disappeared? Do you think that that might be a way that they could hide just because of what is contained within their hair? And it might be utter nonsense, but it was just, from my point of view, looking at these fish and seeing how beautiful they were, and thinking to myself, it was like a big clue, a bit of light bulb moment. So if you have an example of forest person's hair, you would stretch it out and split it lengthways. Now, what kind of equipment would you need to do that? I have no idea. That's why we get these professional bodies to investigate them. Of course, they're never going to find anything because they're instructed from on high by the powers to be. There's nothing to see. Whatever you see, you haven't seen anything. So, without putting too fine a point on it, esoteric. It's all esoteric. People don't believe in any of that. But if you don't look for evidence, if you don't think about what you see, you'll never come to any conclusions. You'll never have any thoughts about it. Tell me, does anybody here, have you got experience of tropical marine fish? Do you think that this is a possibility? I'm going to try and show you in these sort of little video clips whether, just trying to show you whether you can see the different light things, the way the light reflects on the scales, on the skin, and sometimes under the epidermis onto the inner layers of skin, the inner layers that we don't really see. Anyway, that's my thought for the day. Hopefully catch up with you again. I did put that little short clip thing in just to say that I wouldn't be here last week. Just didn't have enough time to put a video together. I should say it does take a lot of time to put one together, to find a subject which I want to put across that I think you might find interesting. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope it was of interest to you. I'm sure that you'll have something you can add to that. Please put them in the comments below. Always like to see the comments below. Thank you, and we'll catch up with you next time. Bye.